Now, believe it or not, I'm not making this video purely because of Uruguay's decent performance in their opening game of Copa America 2024 by beating Panama 3-1. But I've made this video because in my video about Brazil for the Copa America, which may age very badly, I'm very aware of that, but either way, go check that out if you haven't already after this video. I made clear in that video on my two favorites to win the whole thing. My ultimate favorites, and essentially if I had to bet money, it would be this team. It's Argentina, but it's followed closely in second by Brazil. But who's my third favorite? Well, it's Uruguay. But I'm starting to rethink that. I'm maybe going to push Uruguay into second. Well, them and Brazil can fight for my second favorite. But for me, it's Argentina first and then Brazil second and third. And to me, Uruguay are sneaky outsiders to be a dark horse in the competition. Between the quality they have, between the experience and the performances they have already been putting in as a team, Uruguay could cause an upset to a lot of people, getting past both Argentina and Brazil, and they could get their hands on the country's 16th trophy 13 years after last winning the Copa America. But why do I think this? Well, that's what we'll be talking about today. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Back of the Net here. I hope you're all doing well. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into it. On the back of the 2022 World Cup, where Uruguay got knocked out at the group stage, finishing third and only not going through based on goals scored behind South Korea, Uruguay fired Diego Alonso and brought in ex-Leeds United, Lille, Marseille, Athletic Bilbao, Chile, and ex-Argentinian manager Marcelo Bielsa. Bielsa worked wonders at Leeds despite not being able to speak the language, and now the Argentine, taking on a fellow South American country for his third time in his career in Uruguay, seems to be a perfect fit. And headed into this tournament with 1 year in charge of Uruguay, Bielsa has managed 9 games with 2 losses, 2 draws and 5 wins. After the first game in the tournament, it's 10 games with 6 wins. But those 2 losses came against Ecuador in a World Cup qualifier, and it came against Ivory Coast in a meaningless friendly. Headed into this month's tournament, Uruguay beat both Brazil and Argentina 2-0, and Uruguay really played well as a unit. Uruguay don't often dominate possession under Marcelo Bielsa, but like with every Bielsa team, Uruguay are efficient and effective when they do have the ball, but above all, they play at a relentless pace, whether it's defending, pressing, or even on the ball at a relentless pace. If you look at Uruguay on the individual level, the individual talent in this Uruguay team is far from the strongest in the tournament on paper at least. But like I said, they work really well as a unit under Bielsa. Uruguay still do, of course, have those big names like Ronald Araujo of Barcelona, Fede Valverde of Real Madrid, Darwin Núñez, yes, he's a big name, I know, laugh all you want, and even still now have the 37-year-old in Luis Suarez. But outside of those big names, they still also do have some recognizable names to the common football fan, like Jose Jimenez, Mateus Oliveira, Ugarte, Palestri, and even Bentancur of Spurs. But outside of those star names and recognizable names, most of Uruguay's players either play their club football in the Americas or in leagues around Europe that are not in the top 5 leagues. So if you were to look at this team on paper, compared to other teams like Argentina, you would see a lack of star power in Uruguay. You would see a manager that hasn't won a title since 2020, and before that hasn't won a title since 2004 with Argentina in the Summer Olympics. Then strictly on paper, you would question why me and a lot of other people seem to rate Uruguay so highly. Well, like I said earlier, they aren't dominant with the ball, but they are a difficult team to beat. They play with a very high intensity about them, which suits someone like Fede Valverde perfectly. Darwin Núñez is still a pretty good goal scorer for Uruguay, scoring 11 goals in 24 games for Uruguay since his debut in 2019. But most impressively, Darwin Núñez has scored 9 goals in his last 8 games for Uruguay, making him one of the most in-form international strikers right now. Uruguay have some players that, although they may not be very well known and play their club football in Americas, they are really good players. I mean, you look at a player like Mateus Viña, who is a left back, once on the books of Sassuolo and Roma and Bournemouth, but he's been really good for Uruguay. And they have some players that you may not have ever heard of, but are still really efficient players for Uruguay. So on top of having a manager that is so experienced in all areas of football, on top of your captain in Fede Valverde being a 2-time Champions League winner, a 3-time La Liga winner at just the age of 25, and being one of Real Madrid's better players, and also being one of the most underrated players in the world right now, in my opinion. On top of having someone like Darwin Núñez, who, yes, I know may be dodgy for Liverpool, may not be the most elite finisher in the world, but like I said, is one of the most informed goal-scoring players for his country. They are still a team that has proven to work very well together. They are still a team that has proven to be able to beat the favorites in Brazil, but mainly beat the favorites in Argentina. And again, they play at a very high level, very hard for international teams to match their pace, their energy. And again, my favorite to win the whole thing, I'm sure everyone's favorite, is Argentina. They are just stacked from top to bottom, and with having the likes of Messi, it's still going to be your favorites. I honestly don't think there should be a question about Argentina being the favorites to win Copa America 2024. But after Argentina and assessing Uruguay more closely, don't be surprised if you see Uruguay upset both Brazil, upset Argentina, and go all the way and win Copa America 2024. If I had to bet it, I'm going for Argentina still, but for me, Uruguay, the more I think about it, the more I talk about them, the more I watch them, they are easily becoming my second favorite to win the whole tournament.